The James Show Podcast.
Have you looked at your phone? Have you looked at your social medias lately? Because they are going absolutely nuts. Right after the James Show started, or really about an hour ago, Elon Musk and Donald Trump they've kind of been drifting apart in their relationship. And Elon just showed up today and threw a big turd in the punch bowl. And it was my next guest who was the first of many people to send me this message over the last hour or so. Check this out. Here's the tweet from Elon Musk about an hour ago that's just shaking the internet right now. He says, time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump, that's his Twitter handle, at Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. And he also replied to that, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Oh, my goodness. It is on now. Chris Putnam, DallasExpress.com. Welcome to the James Show. First, is this true or is this just the ketamine talking?
I don't know, man. You know, it's like they said in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Well, let's start with a little nuance here. Just because someone is in the flight logs doesn't mean they went to the island. So I don't know if he means he's in the flight logs, which is kind of a big whoop-de-doo, or if it can be proven that he went to the island.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And by the way, even if he did go to the island, it doesn't necessarily mean that anything untoward happened.
Well, I mean, what else is there to do there? They don't have like a Taco Bell. It's just like a what for fishing?
I'm just reinforcing your point that, you know, we got to watch this thing play out. I mean, there's already a couple of theses in development, right? I mean, one is Musk is clearly upset about the big, beautiful bill and the fact that no corresponding cuts that he's worked so hard at making, you know, have been codified, you know, by Congress. And this could be a tactic to get them, you know, to move faster on that front. And it could also be a tactic to pressure Trump and the DOJ Bondi to get the files out, knowing that, you know, maybe he's not terribly implicated. Because it's kind of hard to imagine that he would have put his personal bread at stake for all these months, you know, if there was something super terrible there, you know, if he knew that. And you know, Musk has implied for months now. In fact, he's stated it publicly on a couple of podcasts like JRE, you know, some of the names that he knows are on there already, folks like Bill Gates. So there's a lot to watch here. And, you know, these two, I mean, I don't know what happened between them, you know, but, you know, this has been brewing for a while.
We're talking with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express over the explosive tweet from Elon Musk claiming that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Now, if it's proven that he went to the island, I would think most people would be on board with an impeachment. You think MAGA is going to be willing to overthrow their leader?
It's going to be very interesting. I think that if it's confirmed that he was at the island, he has obviously a lot of explaining to do, and it's going to be very hard to defend him unless he's got something, you know, incredibly definitive that again suggests that he didn't do anything wrong while on the island. But yet, to your point, the public is just going to immediately jump to that conclusion, regardless. And yeah, it's going to be a snowball rolling downhill.
Well, I kind of have a hard time imagining another good reason why the list hasn't come out yet.
I suspected, you know, just personally, anecdotally, that he was probably in there in some capacity as a subject. Because, I mean, as you know, Epstein knew everybody. I mean, he networked with all of those same people. And, you know, Trump's been doing that for decades. And so they absolutely knew each other. You know, Trump's acknowledged that they knew each other. I'm sure that they were at many, many social events together and probably friendly. So let's see. You know, I mean, I'll ask you this, James. Like, have you ever been through what we've been through in the media for the last year? This is insane.
No. I was totally floored by the Biden decline cover-up. You know, I thought that was one of the most obvious hoaxes possible.
Assassination attempts, like Biden getting, you know, stepping down, and that was effectively a coup in that party. I mean, this has been some crazy stuff for the last 12 months.
Well, then your conspiracy head starts to spin, and rightfully so, because if there is like a secret cabal of pedophiles or demonic people that are running the earth, then Trump's in the cabal? Question mark.
I mean, wasn't he supposed to be the guy that was revealing the cabal, the QAnon thing?
Right, but that makes the shooting in the head thing a whole different story now. Because I thought that was the cabal trying to protect their own and keep the outsider from exposing them. But if he's not an outsider, then that's the cabal trying to silence a guy for what reason? If they already control him, why would they want him dead?
There's a lot of places you can go here, right? Into some weird places. And so, by the way, marry that to what we saw from, Bongino and the head of the FBI, but, Cash. And their behavior trying to explain away the suicide was pretty bizarre.
Yeah, that almost looked like a hostage video where it's like, you're being forced to read a note. I am sorry for my actions. My captors are treating me very well. I am being well fed and taken care of. It's like, sure you are. Sure you are. Like there's not someone off screen pointing a gun at you right now.
It's strange. And then, of course, flashback a week ago. It wasn't even a week ago. Everything moves so fast now. When Elon, first tweeted, that he hated the big, beautiful bill. And that, we didn't support it at all. And, of course, that was timed right at his exit from the administration in a formal role. But
if you're Elon Musk, why don't you go to Trump and say, listen, balance the budget or I'm going to tell everyone you're on the Epstein list?
Don't you think there had to be some conversation. I don't know if it was that explicit, but
maybe he did that already.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of implying.
All right, Chris, where does this go from here? Trump has to respond, and he has to respond soon.
Yeah, it'll have to be immediate. If, in fact, I'm going to give Elon the benefit of the doubt, I guess, for the moment, that Trump's a subject in the files in some way, then they probably had a planned response in the event that leaked. And so, yeah, I definitely suspect we'll hear something from the administration today. I'd be shocked if we didn't.
Well, that's the first thing I disagree with you on here. It's I don't think they do have a plan for if it gets leaked, because then you have to tell more people and then you risk more leaking.
Well, yeah, the normal PR crisis move is to ignore until you can't ignore it. But my goodness.
Wow. All right.
As you know, just like us, this is all anybody's going to be talking about.
Well, I've changed. Chris Putnam, Dallas Express. You were the first person to send it to me, so thank you very much. Right now, I've changed my TVs in the studio. I put on CNN and MSNBC. You're not going to believe what they're talking about right now, Chris. All right, thank you very much for being on the show again. So, Elon Musk tweets out the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is Donald Trump's on it. That's why they're not public. Think that's true? Imagine there's a ceiling fan in the room right now, and it's spinning on high, like super high. And then Elon Musk walks in with the big pile of dog poo, and he just chunks it right into the fan. That's where we're at right now. Elon Musk tweeted out right after the James show started, and the public feud's getting ugly because Elon says the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is because Trump is on them. Let's allow a little nuance here. He's in the flight logs. That's not really that big of a deal. But if he's implicated in going to the island, that is a big deal. Now, it's hard to believe that he's been able to be implicated in the nefarious dealings of Jeffrey Epstein this entire time, and they didn't release the files all this time. When Biden was in power and when the FBI, who clearly was not on his side, were in power, could they not have buried him this entire time? Or, converse to that, if they take him down, do they necessarily take down everyone else on the list? And so maybe there's just enough big wigs from Team Red and Team Blue that the mutually assured destruction is the reason why the list hadn't come out. And that's what a lot of us have suspected. That's probably what you suspected too. Let's be fair. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Dude, I had to switch my TVs here in the studio to CNN and MSNBC, and I don't know what's going on under the table, but Nicole Wallace just lit a cigarette. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This is Lee in Cedar Creek. Hey, Lee in Cedar Creek. You're on WBAP. Go.
Yeah, James, let me point something out that seems to have been omitted, and that's the fact that when Jeffrey Epstein went to Mar-a-Lago, President Trump invited him out because he was hitting on all of the young women out there at Mar-a-Lago, and President Trump did not.
The way I recall that is there was a report that Epstein had groped a female employee, and Trump kicked him out and banned him for life from Mar-a-Lago.
So this report by Elon is erroneous. It's just a cheap shot, basically. That's the way I see it. And even though Elon Musk has done great things, and I'm glad he was on our side and still is, but President Trump did not go. You'll never convince me of that. So, and that's all I've got to say there, James. Great show.
All right. Well, thank you, Lee. Yeah. So maybe, and I don't know better than anybody else. We're just speculating on this together. Okay. So give me a little grace. But maybe Trump we know he had known Epstein and been friends with him, for whatever friends means when you're that rich and you know that many people. He's acquainted with Epstein for 15 years before that happened. And maybe if you go to Epstein Island or to an Epstein party or to a Diddy party or whatever the equivalent freak off is, and you know this guy's a creeper and you invite him to Mar-a-Lago and he's grabbing your waitresses, you're like, I cannot be associated with a guy this evil. He's not good for business. And if he's this sloppy, then he's going to get me in trouble. And maybe that's why he banned him. And I'm not saying that's the more likely scenario or the probable scenario. I'm just saying that is one of the many possible scenarios. 800-288-9227. Spencer and Justin, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, James, I was calling in on Epstein. I just want one question. Why did Trump kick him out of Mar-a-Lago since he found out what kind of guy this guy is?
Because he would be bad for business, even if he was a bad guy himself. You recognize that a guy that's this sloppy, the guy that's running around, hey, you got a whole island of willing participants, whether or not they're of age is a different story. Why do you have to go around groping my waitress? Because now that waitress can file a criminal complaint. She can call the cops. And now someone has to be investigated. Someone might get arrested. Someone might have to get bailed out and have some court hearings. And he just doesn't want that stink on him. And I'm not saying that's true. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate.
Everything comes out, and I'm sure it will, because I can't believe. I think he's mad because of something else, like the mandates on EVs.
Well, yeah, and the other side of that is Elon Musk does have some motive because of the billions of dollars that he's going to lose from the mandates and government contracts being taken away. It also could be just the ketamine talking. He could be, a drug-addled weirdo like he's been accused of. I'm not sure if that's true, but there's enough gray area here that a lot of people can draw their own conclusions in whatever way their bias sees fit. And I'm not so sure it's all going to come out. It hadn't come out yet, so I appreciate your optimism. I'm not sure if I share it. I really hope it does come out. And I don't care who's on it. If you're on my team, if you're on the other team, all the people that went to that island, you got justice coming. Tom in Frisco, you're on WBAP. Where are you at?
James, I've got two questions for Elon.
Okay.
One, how long has he known this? And two, he was in Doge. He wasn't involved with the Epstein investigation, as far as I know. So where did he get his information? From some anonymous source?
Yeah, okay. Let's speculate on that before you get to your second point.
Okay.
He had the team of engineers that had access to government computers and databases. He could have gotten that through nefarious causes. He could have had a whistleblower slip it to him. He could have had someone pass him a flash drive and be like, listen, this is the list, in case something happens to me, make sure this gets out or something to that effect. I mean, there's some answers to that, but I appreciate your skepticism because we have to be skeptical of anything that comes out of D.C. And so maybe Elon Musk really doesn't know, and he's just saying this to flame the guy on the way out, which seems kind of petty and trifling, but that doesn't mean it's not true.
Well, that goes to my second aspect of my call is this really brings to my question of Elon's character.
Only if he's wrong. Only if he's wrong.
But again, how long has he known this? If he was buddy with Trump and knew this all along, but only after the mandate against EVs and, his people that used to love him turning on him because he was part of Doge, has he decided, okay, all right. I'm going to be a rat.
Well, you're not wrong, but I think the answer to your question hinges on when he found out. Did he just find out yesterday, or did he find out back in January when he was brought into the White House, or did he find out last October? Because that would make your point even more solid. He campaigned for this guy after knowing he was on the list. So I think we have to reserve judgment until we found out when Elon figured it out, even if it's true. Just think of what we've been through in the last year. We had the debate where Joe Biden finally presented to the world irrefutable proof that he has mashed potato for brains. So you had the first time after all the primaries were done that a candidate was replaced. They didn't even have a vote to replace him. Then Trump got shot in the head, got shot in the ear. We still don't know anything about that dude. There was another guy who tried to shoot him. No one cares. You don't know anything about that. You don't even remember his name, do you? Then you had Kamala Harris step in and run one of the weirdest campaigns for 107 days. You had Elon step in with the Doge. And all the way down to Anthony Weiner announcing that he's running for mayor of New York City again. I mean, how much evidence do we need that we're living in a simulation? We're just plugged into the Matrix. Like, you can't feel it in the back of your head, but right now there's some sort of port. There's like a USB-C that's plugged into the back of your neck right now. And you're in a pod and you're providing electricity for the robots, because this is a simulation, because the writers are getting sloppy for the 249th season of United States of America. The writers are just getting sloppy. Elon Musk put on Twitter, the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is because Donald Trump's on them. Is that true? Could that even be true? If so, what happens next? If not, what happens next? Why would Elon lie? Is this just the ketamine talking? 800-288-9227. Let's ask Tracy in Corsicana. What's going on?
So, Trump's a master of manipulating the far left. Do you think this could all be just an act? He's got Elon may be upset. He may have some, real issues with all the things going on. But do you think maybe he's leaking this so now the far left start clamoring to have Epstein's files released?
If so, it's brilliant. I can't rule it out because I know so little about just because I know the same you do, just the headlines and then what we've known through the Epstein/Trump stories and the Elon stories throughout the years. I guess that's possible. Is it probable? Probably not, because they are kind of having a feud and a falling out. And I don't know, would you stage all that for days in advance? Because there's a real issue here. And, I could just really see this going either way, Tracy. I really do. Because I also have the questions on why Donald Trump, after years of saying we shouldn't raise the debt ceiling, we need to get the deficit under control, we need to balance the budget, we should have a balanced budget amendment, we should have an amendment that says whenever the budget isn't balanced, then no one's available for re-election in Congress. And then when he shows up, he's cool with not only continuing the current $2 trillion a year deficit, but actually growing it over the next few years. It's like, well, did someone pull his strings? Does someone have something over him because he's acting like this is a big, beautiful bill? No, this doesn't match the values and the promises that you were talking about last year. You always talked about balancing the budget. This isn't anywhere close to it. What changed his mind? So I hate to tell you this. I just don't know, Tracy.
I don't think any of us do. Time will tell, though.
I hope so. I'm not sure if time will tell. That makes us feel better to say it, but thus far we don't know who's on the list. And this Epstein list, I mean, when did Epstein even get in trouble? Wasn't that like 5 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Let's go to Cody in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP.
Yes. I think two things can be true at once. He may be on a list, in air quotes, but I also believe if he really was on this list, it would have been released, because Democrats would be foaming at the mouth to get that out there and prove it. However, you would have everybody being redacted. I think there's all sorts of people on this list, whether they were at a party, so forth. I don't know if you can't specify, these are island people, these are people from whatever convention, whatever party, from 10, 20 years ago. So I think it can be a big mixed bag, but I think if he was truly on it at Pedo Island, he would have been outed in the last administration.
Okay, but Cody, how do you do that if there are people on both the elites of Team Red and Team Blue? How does one release the list without sinking their own side along with it?
I think that's also how two things are true. He's probably mentioned along with both high-level people in both political parties and outside of politics, just named. So I think it's a thing where they said we can't really do it either if it was truly on there, because they'd have to redact their team players, if you know what I mean.
I do.
And
It
would raise more questions, But also, it's I think it's mostly that. Now, I'm saying it right now. We're never going to know who anybody was on these lists, just like the Giselle list or whatever her name is.
Ghislaine Maxwell. And we still don't know everyone that's on the Diddy list either. These people are protected. They're elites for a reason. They get away with it they've been getting away with it all this time for a reason. Apparently, they're really good at pulling off this creepy stuff. Great call there, Cody in Fort Worth. And I like how so many people are calling in saying, I don't have the answers, but here's kind of what I'm trying to flesh out in my head right now, because none of us have the answers. It has really hit the fan today. If you're just joining us, Elon Musk has claimed Trump is on the Epstein list. Over here on MSNBC, they're popping champagne and smoking cigars.
The James Show Podcast.